Once upon a time, Spain and France kind of had a baby, and that baby grew up to be one of Europe's most adorable little tax havens. This is Andorra.
It's time to learn geography.
No! I think you're gonna really like this country. It's pretty confusing. But first, let's dissect the flag. The Andorran flag is a tri-band color of 3 different colors, red, yellow, and blue. These colors are actually inspired from the French and Spanish flags, the red and yellow coming from the Spanish side, the French side being the red and the blue. Inside of the flag is the Andorran coat of arms. This is where things get a little difficult, so bear with me. The coat of arms is a shield with a motto underneath it saying Virtus Unita Fortior, which means united virtue stands stronger. And in the shield, it's separated by 4 different quadrants, the first one being from La Seu d'Urgell region, and the second one being from the former colony of Foix, the third one representing the crown of Aragon, which is representing the Catalonia region, and the fourth one being the former Viscounty of Bayonne. As you'll see, Spain and France have actually played a very crucial role in Andorra's history, but first let's actually talk about the country. In terms of its political geography, Andorra is classified as a micronation because it is an incredibly small nation. In fact, it's the 3rd largest micronation in Europe, 4th if you include Cyprus, and 5th if you include Iceland, bordered by Spain in the south and France in the north. Andorra is only about 181 square miles, or 468 square kilometers, which is about 2.5 times the size of Washington, D.C. The capital is Andorra la Vella, and it has 7 provinces. Now, Andorra doesn't have any airports or seaports as it is a landlocked country, and it doesn't have any train stations either. However, the nearest train station can be found at La Tour de Querelle in a town called Los Petits Près de l'Andorra, which literally translates to the hospital close to Andorra. It's literally only about 2 kilometers next to the Andorran border. The nearest airports to Andorra will be found in Toulouse or Barcelona, which are respectively each about 3 hours of a drive away from Andorra's borders. Getting into Andorra is going to be a little difficult because there's only about 2 main roads to get in. On the north side, there's the N22 road from the French side, and on the south, there's the N145 highway. Of course, there are other ways you can get in, like the CG6 and CG4 highways on the other side of Spain. And technically, you can sneak into Andorra through a farm close to the N145 highway in Spain as well. Entering through France is going to be a little bit more difficult because not only are there more hairpin turns through the mountainside, but also all people entering through France will have to pay a €7 fee to go through the Envalira tunnel. The tunnel is about 2 kilometers and enters into the main parts of the country. Now, why is it so hard to get into Andorra? Well, we're going to discuss that in physical geography. Now, Andorra is almost completely mountainous as it is a landlocked country in the Pyrenees mountain range and the Iberian Peninsula. Of course, Andorra does have a few lakes and rivers, the main one being the Rio Valira, which travels through most of the main towns and the capital city of Andorra la Vella. Now, only about 2% of Andorra's land is arable for farming and livestock production. However, with whatever land that they do have, they produce staples like grains and vegetables. However, the most common crops that they grow are hay and tobacco. The majority of their food is actually imported, mostly because their economy is heavily based off of tourism and banking. About 7% is classified as unclassified transactions. They're huge on raising sheep though, and there are a lot of ski resorts as well, especially when you enter on the French side. Now, the people of this region are actually really interesting, so interesting that we're going to talk about it in demographics. Now, when it comes to demographics, Andorra is very strange because the majority of people in Andorra are actually not even Andorran nationals. Only about 1/3 of the people living in Andorra are actually Andorrans, the others being Spanish, French, and Portuguese. That means about 2/3 of the people can't even vote or hold office as head of state, or own 33 or more % of any stock in Andorra. Nonetheless, Catalan is the main language of Andorra, the official language. However, people do have a choice to send their kids to either Spanish, Catalan, or French schools, and surprisingly enough, most people actually choose the French schools, over half of them. Catalan is actually a Romance language related to Spanish and French. However, most people in Andorra are actually trilingual or quadrilingual, using Portuguese or English as their 4th language. These people are actually really smart, believe it or not. The strangest thing about Andorra, though, would have to be their governmental system. See, Andorra is what you would call a co-principality. It's the only one in the world, which means they have 2 princes. However, these princes aren't really acquired by any kind of royal lineage, or they're not even necessarily related to each other. How is this possible? Well, the president of France and the bishop of La Seu d'Urgell in Spain are the princes. That means whoever is the current president of France and whoever is the bishop of La Seu d'Urgell are considered monarchs. However, Andorra does have its own head of government position that it holds, that the Andorran people vote for, a third of the Andorran people at least, who oversees most of the executive duties of the country along with the General Council of Parliament. However, the head of government can also request certain sanctions from the two other monarchs. It's confusing. Now, if you thought that was kind of confusing, let's talk about the Friendzone. Now, because Andorra is classified as a tax haven, pretty much everybody loves Andorra. However, Andorra is careful about this. She doesn't just throw herself out to anybody who says they like her. She's careful with who she goes to in keeping her embassies to a minimum and invests in the people that she knows she can cooperate with the best. To this day, she only has about 6 embassies in 6 other countries: Belgium, France, Spain, Portugal, and the United States, and Austria. However, technically the embassy in the United States triples as an embassy for Mexico and Canada as well. Spain and France are the only countries that have embassies inside of Andorra. Now, Andorra doesn't have any international disputes or controversies. However, it did kind of take them a little while to have diplomatic relations with Kosovo. They were a little bit hesitant at first, but now they have relations and it's all good. To be frank, Spain and France are not only probably Andorra's best friends, but they're pretty much the protective parents who have stood by the nation for nearly all of its history. Spain and France have a huge holding on Andorra's relationships. In conclusion, Andorra is kind of like the hidden gem tucked away in the Pyrenees Mountains that is really hard to get to. But if you're a travel freak, see if you can get to this place. I think you'll enjoy it. Stay tuned, Angola is coming up next.